center of Acadia.
In Acadia?
I don't know. I guess the deal here is people ask me how I got to be where I'm at or something like that.
That's kind of what I did, more or less. Probably ran my mouth a little too much, but yeah.
Okay.
I might listen.
Right, well, so I got these 3 bullets here. Starting out with the bottom, I started out as an English major, which I guess isn't very STEM-like, but always had a strong math background. And the biggest part of my career actually was in computer science. And so, as I said, I helped design the file format for CD-ROMs.
Thank you, Chris.
And sort of moved from that into starting businesses. And when the Park Service needed help in getting an organization going in Acadia to support science and education, that's what I do. Well, sort of worked at it for a while. So you've participated in this, or how does this work?
Well, I just actually came in because I was in the other thing, so I'm not sure. I suppose it can be whatever you want it to be.
Well, I'd be happy to answer questions about what we do. That might make some sense, or how I got there, or how it grew.
I've actually been there.
Oh, good. It is. It's a unique place. It's the quiet part of Acadia. Are you familiar with the center?
I am.
Okay. Well, we're actually undergoing an enormous amount. Have you been on the campus?
No,
okay.
I've been up to security.
So there's a actually the picture on the back is a picture of the campus more or less as the Navy left it, and as of today, this complex of buildings has just been torn down this week. This big building went last week. We're basically tearing down a lot of buildings that have been vacant and not used, and are really turning it into a campus that's more focused on science and education rather than on Navy things. These were old barracks. We don't need barracks.
So this is an old Navy base?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was the Navy base, initially built as a radio station. It turns out that in the 30s, being close to England mattered. This is about as close as it could be to England and still be in the States. But in the 50s and 60s, it was used for various security things. I don't know what they were. But the Navy left in 2000. And the Park Service has kind of a unique need. The Park Service doesn't have internal capability to undertake long-term research beyond this kind of monitoring. So if we want to do something like understand what's happening to a deer population over time, or what's happening to a migratory bird population over time, we need to work with universities and, in some cases, just independent scientists to understand that stuff. And this facility is meant to support that, provide them with office space, lab space. So it's kind of a neat thing. I get to learn about a lot of different science, for everything from carbon sequestration in this little kind of marshy basin here, to geology, to affects bat populations and the impacts of wind turbines on them.
We, put my parent hat on to take my educator hat off. We spent a lot of time traveling to National Park building country. Oddly, we've never taken our kids up to Acadia, but we will this summer.
You should.
We're going to.
That's kind of amazing.
I know, but I mean, we went all the way out to the Redwoods. Like, we've been out all over the West. So if we come up as a family, are there? I mean, I know you probably work with schools and do some educational things. So what do you do for sort of regular people?
On the education side, we run they're advanced placement summer institutes for teachers. Does that ring a bell? Okay. Well, they're advanced placement summer institutes. So we run one that is in environmental science that assumes that you've already had one in environmental science. We run same thing for biology. And we get teachers out into the intertidal zones. We get them actually working with mostly in the intertidal area, and looking at what's going on there. So we do run teacher training programs, and that's a big part of what we do. We've got a pretty well-known program. We bring about 800 or so, as many as we can, middle school students in September and October. It's called the Zoellick Education Adventure. We bust them out all over the place. It's a 3 or 4 day overnight program where they spend time in the park working. Kids do. And then our other big program with schools is, I should have brought a poster. We're active in about 15 different high schools across the state, involving teachers and helping us collect data about mercury contamination. They capture, in some cases, fish. Mostly we've done focused on macroinvertebrates. We've developed curricula around that so that they can actually use that to introduce things like food chains and so on. For us, the data are actually really useful. We're getting a picture statewide of mercury that is much more detailed than we've ever been able to have. So the data that we're getting from the teachers and the students is data that we use and we care about. So it doesn't quite answer your question.
Well, but how do schools fund that?
We fund it.
You fund it. So how do you get a school signed up? I mean, how does the school go about getting it?
It's open. Basically what we do prefer is we prefer to have a relationship with a school rather than with an individual teacher. But we would love to work with other schools. I mean, we've been adding schools. We started out with basically Mountain View and then Nokomis in Newport, and we've grown it now to a dozen schools, and we'd be happy to grow it beyond that. One of the things we're finding is that the kids have never really dealt with data much before, and they have a tough time with it. So we're actually developing a new program that kind of moves down into the middle school, so we actually can get kids spending more time dealing with graphing data and portraying data and looking just kind of at how that works. With the high school kids, I'm feeling a little bit like I'm throwing them in the deep end of the pool and expecting them to swim a little bit. They really don't have the scaffolding to do some of the things we're asking them to do. So starting next year, hopefully, we'll be actually working as much with middle school students as with high school students. The park is committed for its own long-term survival to science literacy and working with. What we are trying to do is we're trying to take citizen science, but then couple that with formal science. And it's actually hard to do somewhat because the demands of the citizen science don't necessarily, we're interested in the data, but the formal science education part, then you're really interested in making sure that the curriculum is solid and something useful. My background goes back into education, so that's how I'm able to do some of this.